Hello. So in this video, we're going to talk about Megan Reilley's micro-memoir piece At Dawn. So first off, I want to say Megan is my office mate here at Penn State. And I'm teaching this piece to my first year composition classes. We're doing a personal narrative project, and At Dawn is a really interesting one because it is, I think, less than 100 words, and it develops a story with conflict. So that's specifically what I'm interested in with this story when I go to teach it, will be the way that in this very, very short space, it creates conflict between these characters. So micro-memoir is the creative nonfiction, I guess, version of flash fiction or short stories, right? Which is just extremely short, compact storytelling. So At Dawn, I'll actually read you the whole thing because it's, again, quite short. And then we'll talk a little bit about it and what's interesting about it. So this is the story. Make love to me. Leave her. Stay for me. Not the children. Me. Break bread with me. Broken woman. Break me. Bring your body down on mine. Break it. Break me in this bed. Love me. Broken me. The me you broke. Broken horses are the only horses we allow our daughter to ride. We taught our children to be careful. We taught them to care for things they want to last. Make this marriage last. Care for me. Here in this bed, unbreak the sacrament. Care. He turned and walked away. Broken promises, broken marriage, broken children, broken life. So what I think is really cool about this is, again, it develops this very clear and effective conflict in that it is the speaker's plea to this husband who is turning away from this marriage, whether this is a divorce, whether this is just the breakup of the marriage, whatever it is, right? And it is developed through this sort of staccato type language, right? Make love to me, period. Leave her, period. Stay for me, period. Not the children, period. Me, period. Break bread with me, period. Broken woman, period. Break me, comma, bring your body down on mine, comma, break it, comma, break me in this bed. We have these very short phrases. Nothing of that bit there's only about 3 sentences in this that exceed 4 words long. Well, so that's not quite right. There's only about 4 clauses that exceed 4 words long, right? So this line, break me, comma, bring your body down on mine, comma, break it, comma, break me in this bed, comma. There's some clauses that are 5 words long. The sentence itself is longer, but again, it's broken up by these commas, and so many of the lines are broken up by these periods. So it is, again, this very staccato sound, right? This sort of sharp bit, 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 bit. And one of the things that does that's really interesting, actually, structurally, is it works like fragments, right? Metaphorically, it's almost like shrapnel, right? Because shrapnel is, when there's an explosion, right? Shrapnel is little tiny bits and pieces that get jettisoned off in all directions, and they strike things. This is one of the problems with shrapnel, one of the problems with explosives, right? Is tiny things pierce. And that's what the language here is doing, right? With these very short tiny sentences, one word, 2 words, 3 words, these are piercing, right? And that's what staccato does as a sound technique. And so that's an affective component of this story and the technique of writing it. It has this piercing quality because the language is so short and sharp, right? Almost like being stabbed. But then we have these, through this staccato presentation of this interior kind of monologue, because the only bit that seems to be spoken is the first sentence, make love to me. And the reason I say that is that's in quotation marks, nothing else is. So everything else in punctuation terms is interior monologue, it seems like. And this is very striking because one of the things that this sort of indicates is the speaker's internal struggle. And that struggle seems to be... So it's an interesting one, because one of the things that I teach my students about in terms of this personal narrative assignment that they have to do is the 3 types of conflict, right? Person versus person, person versus self, person versus society or nature. Is this story person versus person or person versus self? Both, I think. Right? It is person versus person in that the husband is clearly leaving the marriage against the wishes of the speaker. And so there is that conflict, right? That conflict that is externalized from the speaker, the plea to this other person to comply. But there is also an internal conflict. And that internal conflict is driven by the implicit recognition that what the speaker is trying to hold on to is fundamentally a problem, right? Broken woman. Break me, bring your body down on mine, break it, break me in this bed, love me, broken me, the me you broke. That refrain of brokenness occurs throughout this, again, very, very short story, very, very short memoir. And brokenness, of course, has a negative affect, typically. It doesn't necessarily have to. There are ways that we could approach brokenness as a neutral or even a positive thing, right? But it's not clear that in this story we are meant to approach this brokenness as a positive. The refrain of brokenness is, and I mean, even this line toward the end, here in this bed, unbreak the sacrament, right? The sacrament of marriage being broken is generally regarded as a bad thing. Sometimes divorce is a good thing. I don't want to suggest it's not, right? Sometimes it definitely is. A lot of times it is not. And a lot of times, even when it is a good thing, it is quite painful for people. I'm given to understand, having never been divorced. But this idea of being broken by this relationship, and this is the thing, right, is it's not necessarily I have been broken by the absence of the beloved. It's not I have been broken by the absence of the husband. It's I have been broken within this marriage. And yet I cling to it, right? That I want to maintain that marriage, unbreak the sacrament, the broken sacrament being marriage, right? So return to the marriage, return to our life together. And this is the thing, right? So this speaker has this simultaneous recognition of the broken status of this marriage, or the breaking status of this marriage, that it is a thing that has broken her, and yet this desire or unwillingness, inability, perhaps, to give up the thing that breaks her. And again, it is very, very short, and it develops this really interesting conflict of internal and external within that tiny, tiny space. I think it's super impressive.